The seventh launch in Lentor Gardens Residences. How is this going to add on to the already crowded scene in Lentor? Today we are going to explore what problems we can foresee in this area and should you still consider Lentor Garden Residences. Before we go further, hello, my name is Belle. I help property owners navigate the market to avoid costly mistakes before they commit. Do like and subscribe to my YouTube channel to get regular updates to help you make better decisions. Call me or DM me. We can discuss on your situation together. So, many owners have concerns about the oversupply in this area, so we shall discuss more about it today. Lentor Gardens, the seventh project here, and the eighth one has just been sold in March, and potentially another 3 more plots in future. So how do we place Lentor Gardens? We will look at how developers usually price their projects and what this can mean for Lentor Gardens. Then another concern that buyers have when they consider Lentor is the rentability problem. Finally, we will look at the project overview and then analyze the unit layouts. So let's do a quick recap of the launches here. In the past 3.5 years, 6 projects have been launched in Lentor Township, and it's a total of 2,954 units. 99% have been sold. There are only 24 left, 3 in Hillock Green and 21 in Lentoria. So while there is oversupply, there is enough demand to absorb the supply so far. Projects like Lentor Modern, Lentor Mansion, and Lentor Central sold very quickly, between 75% to 93% on launch day. So with the launch of Lentor Gardens, 499 units, and the upcoming Lentor Central GLS, about 562 units, the total supply in the area will become 4,015 units, with a balance of only 24 units left from Hillock Green and Lentoria. When Lentor Gardens launches next month in July, there really isn't much competition actually. However, the thing to take note of is exit timing, because we need to acknowledge the fact that exit might be an issue due to the number of units. If we look at the TOP dates and the possible exit timing based on the SSD year, we see that the first 6 projects are actually under the 3 years SSD, whereas Lentor Gardens and the upcoming Lentor Central GLS will be under the 4 years period. So what does this mean? By the time Lentor Gardens buyer can exit in 2030, there is already some buffer from the earlier launches and 2 years apart from Lentor Central. That's to say, those who buy to exit in the earlier launches should more or less have exited. So in this sense, I feel buyers of Lentor Gardens are actually in a safer position because they don't face intense competition when they want to exit. Lentor Gardens will be the newest and harmonized, whereas 4 of the earlier projects are not. So Lentor Modern, being the first of the 6 projects, exited with decent profits because when their units are out for sale, the others are still within the SSD period. So there's no competition. Rather, the buyers of these 4 launches should be more worried, as they will bunch together if they want to exit soon after their SSD, especially for Lentor Hill and Hillock Green. If sellers choose to exit slightly later, they will hit 2 more projects in 2027. There's a lot more competition, so buyers of these 4 projects really have to time their exit even more carefully. Lentor Gardens, being the first in the 4 years SSD period, will be like Lentor Modern. When units are available for sale in 2030, the next few plots are still within the SSD period, so there's no competition. And it already has a good gap from the first 6 projects, as it will be the newest, harmonized, and the lowest in land price. It's in a very advantageous position. So coming to land prices, Lentor Gardens land price of 920 PSF PPR is the cheapest among the 8 plots of GLS so far. It is 39% lower than the upcoming Lentor Central GLS, which was awarded to Guaco Land in March 2026. So do you think the developer will launch cheap because its land price is low, or do you think they will launch at market price? The indicative pricing is already out. We see that prices will start from 2050 PSF and estimated average will be 2,350 PSF. So how are these prices compared to the transactions around, and how safe are these prices? So Looking at the recent 2 years new launch transactions in Lentor from the 6 projects, we see that the lowest transacted PSF is 1864 in Hillock Green. Then the average range from 2173 to 2378. And the highest so far achieved is 2670 in Lentor. So market prices transacted are already in the range of 1009 to 2006 PSF. Lentor Gardens average of 2350 is within the range of the average around here. Being the newest out of the 7, if it's launched at the same price as the others, in a way it's a better buy because it's the newest and GFA harmonized. Then we see that the Lentor Central GLS was awarded with a land price of 1278 PSF PPR. So with this price and a break-even price of 2378 PSF after factoring in some profits, the launch price is going to be around 27 to 28 PSF. Lentor Gardens launch price of 2350 has a good buffer from this next plot. So buyers who buy at launch day has a good price protection for future exits. Then this brings us to understanding the pricing strategy of the developer. By looking at their historical trend, we can get a sense of how they can usually launch their projects. So this project is developed by Kingsford, who is also the developer for recent projects like The Hill at 1 North, Normanton Park, 1 Marina Gardens, and Chuan Park. So Kingsford's projects usually are not sold out on the first day. So you can see here that Chuan Park was 76% launch and Normanton Park 1/3, Kingsford about 1/3, and 1 Marina Garden also about 1/3. Then throughout the sales cycle of 2 to 3 years, there will be several price increases. So for example, Chuan Park sold 76% on launch day in April 2024 at an average price of 2579 PSF. On launch day, prices actually started from about 2,200 to 2,300 PSF. And throughout the day, there were about 4 to 5 price increases. Post-launch day till now, there were another 2 price increases, including a recent one end of May, and each time around 2%. The highest transacted so far reached is 2793 PSF. So from 2,200 PSF to almost 2,800 PSF is about 500 plus increase. Knowing this is how Kingsford priced their projects, if Lentor Garden were to follow the same trend and sell very well on launch day, buyers can expect a few rounds of price increase on the day itself. And those who get their units on launch day can look forward to the developer's subsequent rounds of price increases to help them push up the price. Besides exit, there is another concern many buyers have, especially those who want to buy to rent out, and it is rentability. Then my question is rentability an issue? I think many mixed up rentability and rental yield. Rentability is the ability to rent out, and all units can be rented out. It's only a matter of how long, how much. So there isn't a real rentability issue. For example, if the going rent in a development is 4K, and a landlord is willing to rent out at 3.5K, knowing that there are many units available for rent at TOP, this is not a rentability issue. He is able to rent out. It is just that his rental yield will be lower compared to the landlord who rents out at 4K, assuming the purchase price is the same. If you are buying to rent out, you need to be very clear about the difference between rentability and rental yield. If it takes longer than usual due to the supply of rental units available at TOP, you need to be able to accept a lower rent to get through that period of high supply and adjust later at renewal or a new lease. Or you may even need to be prepared to have some vacancy period. Then the next thing you need to be very clear about is what is your objective of the purchase? Are you buying for rental yield or are you buying for profitability? It's difficult to have both because in reality, not every project can achieve that equally. And usually, high rental yield property tends to have low profitability and vice versa. So which are you going for? So take for example, Copper at Newton and Park Clementes. So these two bedrooms were bought in Q2 2020 and exited around the same time in 2026. Annualized profit for Copper is 2.5%, whereas for Park Clementes is 5.2%. However, the smaller unit in Copper fetches a higher rental at a rental yield of 4.4% versus Park Clementes 3.85%. So here you will see that a project with a higher rental yield may give you a lower profitability. So what are you buying for? Are you going for rental yield or profitability? Then another example, Riviere and Key Residences. So these 2 3-bedrooms were bought around the same time and exited at the same time. Annualized profit for Riviere is 2.8% and for Key Residences is 5.1%. But rental yield is higher in Riviere 3.8 versus Key 3.1%. So what I'm trying to show you here in the above 2 examples is that in areas like Park Clementes and Key Residences, people usually buy for own stay rather than to rent out. So projects like these, rental yield won't be as high even though they are still decent. So over time, there's good appreciation due to the resale demand for own stay. So Copper and Riviere in CCR have more investors buying to rent out. They command good rent and good rental yield, but profitability is lower. So honestly, rental yield in Lentor area due to the supply of units won't be very high, and a lot of people who buy here are for own stay. But if you are looking for long-term appreciation and time your exit well, you can still benefit, especially if your entry price is right. So entering at 2350 PSF, where transactions have already been transacted even higher than that, I think it's safe entry price. And knowing that this developer usually increase price progressively throughout the sales cycle, buyers can look forward to upside even before TOP. So we have addressed the common concerns of oversupply and rentability and seen how this developer usually price their projects. Let's look at the project itself now. First, the location map. We are all already familiar with this location. So this is where Lentor Gardens will be. It's 499 units, residential with commercial on level 1, 3 blocks of 16 story, and 1 block of 8 stories, followed by 3 units of strata terraces. Total land area is 20,639 square meter. So here's another perspective. Within the development, there will be an early childhood development center. Car park is in the basement. 402 car park lots, so that's like 80% provision. Most of them are in the lower basement with 88 lots on the upper basement. 3 accessible lots and 84 bicycle lots. So expected TOP is 31st December 2030. So this is a perspective of how the pool will look like. It's the biggest pool in the Lentor collection. So the longest end to the other is about 200 meters, which is longer than MBS 150 meter infinity pool. So here's another perspective. And these are the 3 strata terraces. So there you are, the project, 3 blocks of 16 stories with sky terraces in all the level 9. Then this is the 8-story and the 3 strata terraces. So in terms of views and facing, all the units on this side, which is here, will be facing Hewlock Park. And on the upper level, they will look towards the lower Seletar Reservoir. And these units here will be facing the development's pool, but the unblocked units here and this block here will actually be facing a future development, but it's low rise because it's 1.4 plot ratio. And so this will be the last plot of land that is facing the Hewlock Park. And so this project is also the one that will enjoy the most unblocked view and greenery. So in terms of site map, it's very interesting. We have these pink blocks here that's consisting of all the 3-bedroom premium. Then the 3 strata terraces are here. Purple color is a 4-bedroom and they are flanked at all the corners of the block. So both facing either the Hewlock Park or the pool facing. Then blue color will be the 2 bedrooms, will be the all in between. And then we have a few 3 bedrooms at the side as well. So now let's go into the unit analysis. First, the unit mix. So this project consists of 2 to 4 bedrooms and comes with 2 baths. So there's no 2-bed, 1-bath in this project. 252 units of 2 bedrooms, 139 3 bedrooms, and 105 for bedrooms. So size range from 646 to 1356 square feet. This is a harmonized project and it's non-PPVC, so the walls in between some of the bedroom and living room can be removed. So let's start with 2-bedroom premium. It comes with 4 layouts. They are all dumbbell design. P1 is 646 square feet, Hillock Park facing. P2, 3, 4 are 678 square feet and they are all pool facing. So the difference between 646 and 678 is that 678 has this study niche and comes with enclosable kitchen. There's also a dedicated dining space. So this size is definitely my preference over 646. It's good layout and size for own stay. Among P2, 3 and 4, the main difference is in the placement of the study niche. So P2 and 4 has a recessed niche for it, whereas P3 is open. So it's more flexible. You can choose to do up the study or storage or leave it open such that you have a bigger foyer here. So P4 has a longer foyer here and you can build storage or shoe cabinets. So for own stay, P4 will be my favorite. Next, 2-bedroom with home shelter. This is 689 square feet, Hillock Park facing. And it's quite similar to 678 square feet except that there's no study niche here, but it comes with a household shelter. So if storage is a priority, especially for own stay, this is the only 2-bedroom with household shelter. 2-bedroom plus study. There are a total of 6 layouts here, S1 to S6, 732 square feet, comes with open study room, and a total of 10 stacks. So there are various choices facing Hillock Park or the pool view. The study room is left open for flexibility. It can be enclosed if you do some partition. So main difference among the 6 layouts are the location of the study room. Some are on the same side as the kitchen and some are on the opposite side. So consequently, there is a dedicated space for the dining. So I will prefer a dedicated dining space in 3, 4, 5, which all happen to be the pool facing. Next, 3-bedroom deluxe and 3-bedroom deluxe with study, which are in fact the compact 3-bedroom. C1 and C1 plus S. C1 is 872 square feet and C2 is 936 square feet. 1 stack each, both facing the pool and future development. Both come with enclosed kitchen with windows and the 2 bathrooms are with windows as well. So C2 comes with this study that is pretty good size and with window. There's also a dedicated dining corner here, so this is my favorite. And there's good privacy here at the foyer, yet not too much, whereas I feel that for C1, this walkway here is a bit too long. And C2 will be a well sought after layout in the resale market. Next, 3-bedroom premium plus study, 969 square feet. P1 and P2, 2 stacks each, and they are in the low-rise 8-story block facing the future development. So versus the previous 2 layouts, C1 and C2, there is a study, household shelter, and dry kitchen. So both are dumbbell layouts. The study is just outside bedroom 2, which means it's possible to do some reconfiguration here if you need a bigger room. Note, however, there is no window in the kitchen and bathrooms because these 4 stacks are in between. So for these 2 and the previous 2, my choice will really be C2 936 square feet, which comes with window in kitchen and bathrooms. Next, we go to the bigger 3-bedroom premium, 1001 square feet, except P5, which is 1012 square feet. So 4 layouts, P3, 4, 5, and 6. They are all at the corner of their respective blocks, so comes in facing Hillock Green as well as pool facing and future development facing. So P3 and 4 are in the lower 8-story block, whereas 5 and 6 are in the high-rise block. All comes with household shelter, yard, and WC, as well as dry kitchen, enclosed wet kitchen with windows, and all bathrooms, including WC, have windows. So these are very functional layout. The difference among them is in the foyer, and 1012 has quite a long one. So I wouldn't pay extra for this space, especially since 1001 already have good privacy corner in the foyer. I'll go for either P3 or P6. So for 3-bedroom compact size, I will go for 936 square feet, which is very efficient layout. If I need a bigger 3-bedroom, 1001 square feet, P3 or P6, depending on the availability of units and price. Next, 4-bedroom deluxe C1 and C2, which is the 4-bedroom compact 1184 square feet. Both Hillock Park facing and pool facing. Very functional layout again. So 1184 square feet these days with GFA harmonization to fit out 4-bedroom with good size living, dining and kitchen, you feel that it's really very efficient use of space. Hillock Green non-harmonized has also a 1184 square feet, but its master room is smaller and there's no dry kitchen. Here you get a huge master room with walk-in wardrobe and a dry kitchen. But 1184 usually doesn't come with a junior master with ensuite bathroom. So if you need that, you can go for the bigger 4-bedroom. 4-bedroom premium, 1356 and 1346 square feet, both Hillock Park facing. Versus the compact 4-bedroom, these come with landscape living room, whereas these were with portrait living room. And a junior master with ensuite and household shelter. So difference between these two is mainly in the foyer. So if you don't want to pay extra, go for 1346 square feet since they are in the same facing. But of course, it depends on the availability by the time your ballot number is called for. Lastly, the 5-bedroom terrace, and here's the layout. 2-story, 1496 square feet. I'll say it's very efficient layout. There's no wastage of space, but there's only 3 units, so you must be really lucky to get it. So we've come to the end of the video. Preview for Lentor Gardens will start on 4th July. Do contact me if you want to explore this project or need further discussion. This is Belle signing off. I will see you in the next episode.